Two Balls and a Mic. Today we have, at this point we're going to interview every single person that is even involved with the Loyal. But this person has been helping us since day one, since the day we met him, and has been a really cool dude all the way through. Please welcome the SD Loyal Director of Marketing, Mr. Jesse Beltran. How are you, Jesse?
Doing well, guys. How you guys doing?
We're good, man. Honestly, again, we want everybody, as many people, to get to know everybody in the club and to see what it really takes and the work that gets done to have this club be what it is right now and what it has been. But would you like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your position as Director of Marketing for the San Diego Loyal?
Yeah, so obviously being a Director of Marketing, all the typical things you hear of marketing is trying to get the brand out there, raise the brand awareness, things of that nature. So obviously that's the main aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I have some history, you can say, in marketing, obviously with my start at Fresno FC the last 2 years. So I was there when it first started. So I was able to help build that club up and start up. And then not so an unfortunate side of things, help put the club away, you can say, or move it over to Monterey. Mm-hmm. So I have a good experience of obviously what it takes to start up a club and see what can work and what can not work. So that's good information as well, and very valuable, you can say, experience in general, but also seeing obviously the worst part of this business, especially in a league that's what makes a lot of people really hungry about it, is that it's not for sure that's going to work. I mean, so it makes you work even harder to make it work. So being able to have that experience is not the best thing, but at the same time, it gives us a lot of learning opportunities. And I'm very grateful for that time I had in Fresno, and it prepared me really well for what I'm really grateful to be at now. Obviously in San Diego, such a great community. Born and raised in Fresno. This was my first chance to head out, and I don't think I couldn't have picked a better place, you can say, to leave the Valley to head down south to San Diego. So I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome to SoCal, man. I actually have a couple of residents, family members up in Selma, California. It's around Fresno.
Oh yeah.
And so
15 minutes away.
Yeah. So really, really cool people up there. I mean, we're all Californians. They're not like NorCal California. That's a completely different California.
Although they consider Fresno North Cal, you know what I mean? To be honest, that's what they say. I don't feel that way. There's a lot of Giants fans, baseball-wise. I know how San Diego fans feel about that. I'm personally a Braves fan, so I stay away from that aspect, that argument for the most part. But yeah, well, I feel you guys on that.
Well, I'm a Padres fan, so I mean, the Braves had a history with the Padres back in the '90s, so that's a good little rivalry.
I remember those.
So, I mean, question: has your role in the club changed at all? Like ever since the pandemic happened?
So there's been some obviously changes in the way we approach things. Obviously, like my day-to-day beforehand would have been preparing for game, obviously like a game day production aspect for the entertainment of the fans and things of that nature, how it all ties in together timeline wise. But more importantly, just to get the fans engaged when they're at the stadium. Obviously now we focus more on our digital components, our broadcast aspects. So it's changed it's the same dynamic, just in a different direction, you can say. It's more focused, instead of like prioritizing my time with broadcast and in stadium stuff. Now it's like very minimal in stadium, just getting that prepped and ready to go for those matches, as you guys seen. But more focused on like the broadcast element and how people are seeing it from a distance, being that that's the only way it can be consumed at this moment.
No, and then definitely the product has looked great since coming back. I mean, the local broadcast team and everybody that I've seen Jesse run around. He's everywhere, and it's really interesting just seeing those little things without just stripping the fans away. Obviously, I'd like to have fans there, but it's just such a raw product that you have. It's just the scaffolding of a professional soccer game, but behind the scenes, everything still has to happen. What's been your, I guess, favorite part of this new world that we live in, as far as obviously things have changed, and like I said, your role's changed, but what's one thing that wouldn't have happened or you wouldn't have been working on as much as you are right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, like to your point, I think obviously without the fans, we don't have anything here. So to me, like, it's tough to answer that without saying, like, obviously ideally, in an ideal world, we still lived in a normal situation where fans are there. We have 6,100 plus every match.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you compare, obviously the first match that you guys were at in the inaugural match, and then you compare to the last couple, it's like a whole different night and day situation. It is cool to like hear the fans, like the team. I mean, so if I'm gonna say like there's something that I enjoy hearing like the communication, like what happens in a game, and I think media when you guys are out there, you guys hear it completely different than you would with 6,100 fans. People that are able to watch a broadcast and hear the little nuances on the field, it's very interesting. And the reason I find that interesting, when I first started working in soccer and going out to trainings and stuff of that nature, I was able to see how much communication there is on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I have a baseball background. That's why I grew up playing more than anything. So I never got onto a soccer pitch personally to play. So seeing how much communication there is was pretty impressive to me. So I kind of like that little detail just because it brought me back to when I first started in soccer, and seeing that like in a live game is actually really cool. A really cool like experience to an extent.
Oh, definitely. And you say baseball is your main game, yet you chose the Atlanta Braves. I mean, questionable stuff there. I'm kidding.
TBS, man, TBS. They're on everywhere.
It's true. That makes sense, actually.
I'm gonna take us back a little bit, back to the first official game against Las Vegas Lights. Walk us through that first day, first official match at home. A bunch of fans in the stadium. So walk us through your day during that game.
Just a million miles an hour.
Yeah, that's honestly, it feels like a different time because it really was. You know what I mean? Like we think March and you're like, 5 months ago, 5 months ago, no big deal. 5 months in the pandemic, it feels like 10 years, honestly.
Yeah.
To be, it feels like we've had a couple seasons here, so that's one of the differences. But yeah, that day, obviously, like leading up to it, every week kind of speeds up faster and faster. Getting stuff ready for the game, like timelines, and those are things that are changing. Ideally, you want to have those a week in advance and make some tweaks in a couple days before you have everything in line and ready to go. But for a first match, it's an inaugural match. I think it's a lot harder just because you have some components that have never been done like at once. Some components of a match that you know how to do what you got to do, but there's so much more elements of just your job. And things change from location to location. So honestly, if I gave you my day-to-day, I went to sleep pretty late the night before getting it ready. All the stuff on the video board, all the scripting and all of those things. And then Saturday morning, we woke up, we're ready to go. We're at the stadium getting everything prepped and made it look real nice with all the signage and things of that nature to really make it our home, you can say. And I feel like the community felt that when they walked into the stadium. It felt like a different place. And that's what we were looking for. So we're out there, Ricardo, his staff, and the majority of our front office just out there putting things out on the bleachers, putting things throughout the stadium and stuff of that nature. So once that was decorated, it was like, whoa, we're here. Then it was kind of just background work, getting all our timing right, printing sheets out and stuff of that nature. So it was a very, you could say like a crazy day, like it went like in minutes. Once the game kicked off, it was a little bit more like, hey, we made it. It's kind of like when you do a presentation for school when you're in college or in high school, and then you get there last minute, you submit it, and next thing you know, you do it. Once you're done, like doing your presentation, you're like, I'm done with it. So it was a very exciting day overall. Great experience. Obviously, the result on the field wasn't what we wanted, but the community had a great time at the end of the day. So I think overall it was pretty good experience overall for everyone. The community, our front office, our players, obviously with the result, they weren't happy, but the excitement knowing that the community was behind them regardless was probably very motivating to them for moving forward.
That sounds awesome, man. How much of this do you get to enjoy? Because obviously it's your job. Some of this we consider like a dream job, just working in the field that you do. And I mean, working alongside Landon Donovan, every other day just sounds fantastic. But do you get to enjoy those kind of day-to-day, say that March 7th game, I saw you everywhere and there's so much to do, like you said. Do you get that time to just sit back and enjoy it, or even enjoy other sports? Because I mean, how the guts of these sports world works within an organization. Do you see other games or other other products and say, like that's good, or are you always on work mode? And you can't help it.
No, that's a good question. Great question. I actually came from a background of minor league baseball with the Fresno Grizzlies.
Okay.
So once I stopped working there and focused more on soccer with Fresno FC, whenever I would go to a Grizzlies game after that, it just didn't feel right. Like I was sitting in the stands knowing every little detail of like, hey, music should be playing right now. Hey, that's why they're doing this. And your mind just does that automatically. Even if I would go to like any professional Major League Baseball game, same thing. So to your question, I do enjoy it now. I've learned how to balance it out a little bit. Like during the game, I get to like enjoy it and be a fan to an extent. I mean, we're part of the team one way or another, so we root just the same like everyone else. We have to keep ourselves under composure a little bit more because there's more to our aspect than just sitting there and watching it, which is what we really want to do. But at the same time, we enjoy what we do, so it makes it a lot fun, a lot better, more enjoyable. But we are keeping track of other games in our league, particularly. It's hard to your other question is it's hard to follow baseball. It's hard to follow like football or like Premier League or Champions League, especially while you're in the middle of your season. It's really tough. But like off season, that's when you can enjoy some other sports like football, American football. But during the season, it's pretty much your games. Who's in this case, who's in your group? How did Phoenix do against LC? Little things like that add notes to your side of things more than anything. But at the end of the day, anytime I get a chance to like unwind, I'm still watching sports. That's my thing.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, community outreach is a high priority task with Loyal. So I mean, with this pandemic, I know you guys before that you guys had the whole going to Hilltop High School and practicing there, and that was great to reach out to this side of Chula Vista. But how has that been altered now, or is it a high priority? Is it a high priority task now, or is it more like we got to worry about this season and the players,
Safety.
and then we worry more about the community maybe as the pandemic passes by?
Well, for us, the community is always going to be like one of our main focuses. I know you guys had Andrew on last week, and his biggest thing is like it almost makes it seem like soccer is secondary to us, which it is, but it isn't. You know what I mean? Like that's our platform. We want to utilize that, but we always want to utilize that to benefit our community. So if it's in a pandemic, no pandemic, whatever the case is, we want to find a way to be part of this community in any way. So like that Hilltop example that you bring up is something that we would love to continue doing. Obviously, with the current situation, the current climate, we can't. So we altered that to different ways of like the Rady Children's fundraiser. We did the Feeding San Diego, things of that nature, and we're going to keep doing those things throughout. Social justice conversations, anything that we feel is going to make our community come together and bridge together is the key to us. And that's honestly the way we're going to do, even if we have to flex one way or another based on whatever's happening in the world at that moment.
I think you guys, it's great that you guys did the Chula Vista Nights. I just feel that you guys chose the wrong high school. I'm from Sweetwater High School. He's from Chula Vista High School, and none of them like Hilltop, but it's all good. We'll have time when we come back to it. But no, that's awesome.
Sure.
And that's a component that you guys have been, thriving upon and doing very well upon. How does, there's that engagement with the fans a lot on Twitter and on social media. How much is that necessarily might be you, or how much does that stuff get back to, Andrew? Because I'm pretty sure, if Andrew wanted to just take over the keys of the Loyal account, he could just tweet something. Or how does that work behind the scenes?
So typically, you obviously have your department, and then you have people that organize different areas of the marketing department, social media, community outreach, like you mentioned, which handles events as well, your communications aspect. So there's so many different little ISOs, you can call them, within the marketing department. At the moment, obviously, within our staff, we have Ryan Young. I don't know if you guys have met him or seen him throughout social, but he's our content creator and director of social media. So he's pretty much the one that oversees it and has great experience, and honestly, really grateful to have him on board with the team because he brings so much overall, not just to the social media and the content creation, but just understanding professional sports with his background. So he's pretty much the one most focused on it, and then runs things through me, like ideas and vice versa. I have an idea, I'll give it to him. Andrew will jump in and be like, hey, this is what we got. He's helped us out on some things with like some of the live streams and things of that nature, since he has very good understanding of how to do that with all the Twitch streams that he's done. So yeah, you can say pretty much it's a full all on board, all hands on deck type of scenario here, with a couple people focused on it, with obviously collaborative efforts around all the way from Landon to Andrew to Nate to everyone else in our front office. So we're always working to see what we can do to help each other out, and more importantly, just help the community. And that's the biggest thing, using our social media. And honestly, our approach in social media, if you've noticed from like April, March, has been more like making a documentary out of our social media. Is kind of like the goal and what we're wanting, like people to feel like they're part of the team, even though one, you can't be with the team right now, obviously, like based on the pandemic, but even when you can return back to the stadium, you're still feeling like you're even more part of it because you see the day-to-day things that happen at training, you see the day-to-day things that happen on travel, things of that nature. So we definitely want to make that like an extension of what the club is and give everybody an opportunity to feel like it's their social media.
And interesting, you mentioned social media. I know you had a question about social media and something happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys do a great job at answering anyone that tags San Diego Loyal and everything, but there was a little, I guess, issue with the, I guess it was a small backlash from the locals about the upside down crest on social media. So I know everyone ended up it's a learning experience for everyone. So how did the club view that little backlash?
So we have a great relationship with the locals, first of all, and they've honestly, with the supporters, obviously are like the keystone to a soccer club. That for soccer culture, they are the ones that provide the culture. That's the way I see it. So we definitely want to respect their views and what it is. You know what I mean, we understand it at the same time. So we weren't offended by it because at the end of the day, they have their opinion. It's very respected, and they have some reason behind it. So it's completely understandable, and we're all about it. From our perspective, we just wanted to support our sponsor, obviously. So from that, seeing that whole dynamic, and if you notice on social media, we took their feedback and say, hey, we appreciate you guys letting us know. Like we're a club that we always want to hear what the community has to say. And in this case, particularly from our supporters club, our official supporters club, we're definitely going to be open ears and ready to help make any adjustments that need to be done and prepare, obviously, to put the club in the best scenario possible in the future.
And it's that really back and forth that you don't really see from professional sports media. And then I put that because I follow quite a lot of teams, and some of them I'll even throw in like the Wendy's Twitter account or something like that, where they obviously have a team, there's somebody right on the pulse, but to see something that's a little uncomfortable to have acknowledged and to it's an elephant in the room, but I think it was handled really well, honestly, and I'm glad that there is that communication and there is that care to have whatever is said not just be the HR, okay, well, thank you guys, but there's some intention to it.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Go for it.
I was wondering, who do the locals, like the leadership group of the locals, who do they reach out to when they have like an opinion or anything they want to do? Is there a specific person that handles that?
Landon himself. No.
Right. Yeah, they have any suggestions on lineup, right? They're hitting up for Landon real quick. No, so yeah, like the supporters liaison, you would call it, I guess. So for that one, they go directly to Ricardo. That's who they talk to directly. When it's stuff behind the scenes, obviously not when they're not trying to post it on social, they talk to us directly. And like I said, it's open communication regards to that. Sometimes they'll reach out to me depending on the topic, but for the most part, it all gets funneled through Ricardo. It just makes it easier for everybody to know who the communication is going, and it stays pretty consistent as opposed to like one day they're telling me something, someone else is telling Ricardo something else. Then obviously there's more room for error. So in that case, so yeah, it's been Ricardo's done a great job. He has great relationships with those guys and that crew as a whole. And yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, one thing I told them when we had those happy hours every 2 weeks, was that I was pretty impressed because, like I said, I come from Fresno where we had Fresno FC. Our supporter group was about 400 to 600, somewhere in that ballpark. But we had a PDL of years of the making. Fresno Fuego, they had so many years. So we were able to build that and establish that group over a long-term period. When I got here to the first match, the Costa del Este match, I was like, oh, wow, that's a good group. Then I go fast forward 2 weeks later to the inaugural match. I was like, oh, my gosh, this is legit. We haven't had a game and there's already a supporter group this big. That really motivated me and made me excited for what this community can bring and the potential. Not that I was not expecting that, but it did kind of give me okay, this is exciting. This really pumps me up even more, knowing that the community's behind this without really knowing what this product is on the field just yet.
And the team that you guys have assembled is quite amazing. You were talking about Ricardo, who I have to thank because of my new F1 Formula obsession. I don't know, are you into F1 Formula yet? Because it seems like everybody, in the club loves it.
Not yet, but I'm getting surrounded more and more by F1 enthusiasts, you can say, obviously with Andrew, Ricardo. I know Andrew mentioned Sean last week as well, and so like once I watched your guys' episode, I'm like, okay, I'll take notes. I'm gonna see which ones to watch as well. He's telling me about the Senna one. Ricardo did, so I need to get on that. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a Kleenexer. It's one of those. It's just done right. The documentary, which is like, damn.
Yeah.
We did talk about a little bit about how you stumbled upon just a diamond in the rough, just strolling around, bar hopping, having a great time. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe just walking in. Want to go in a little bit more into that story that Andrew just alluded to.
Yeah, to complement what he kind of set it up. So I was walking back into my apartment complex. Mind you, I'm 2 months into moving here. I was going actually the first month I was working with the club. I was going back and forth every weekend.
Yeah.
So I was here for the weekend. I was going back to Fresno because it was like holiday season, and it was really tough time to try to move here. I mean, I had just finished with Fresno FC a week later. A week and a half later, I was here, so it was just like too much going on. So then, fast forward 2 months into living here, I'm walking to my apartment complex 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, after leaving the office, and I see like the community room and says like, hey, like game night or something of that nature, and there was like a group of people there, and they saw me walking by. I don't know, they noticed like, hey, this is a lonely guy that just moved here and probably doesn't know anybody. So they like waved me in, and I was like, cool, I'll stop by, swing by, and started playing some games. Sean was one of the individuals in there, and after we're done with the game night, everybody just kind of was hanging out and just chatting about like, hey, what do you do and this and that. So then I brought up obviously that I work for the club, things of that nature, not thinking too much of it. And then Sean, who works for F1 on the stats side, he's a big like Liverpool fan, so he's all about football as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really excited about hearing like, hey, you work for Loyal? Wait, so you work with Landon? And it just, as you know, it went from there. So we just kept talking and whatnot. A couple months later, I realized like I need someone to do stats on our side for broadcast and for the league in general. And right away, like his social handles are like virtual stat man. So like that clicked in my head. I'm like, wait, I'm looking for people, and I literally have a professional F1 person who offered and was enthused about potentially helping us in one way or another. I was like, this just makes sense. So yeah, we talked and figured out that it would work for his schedule, and sure enough, he was there, and sounds like a really cool guy overall. But obviously, his work level, like his work expertise level on that particular subject, is like out of this world, to be honest.
Yeah,
really cool.
Yeah, we heard. I hope to one day just lay eyes upon just the Bible of stats and and stuff that he puts together per game. It's amazing. Yeah. But yeah.
So we're actually going to incorporate his stat packet into our media notes, the ones that you guys get emailed on a match-by-match basis. So his work doesn't just go to our broadcast team; it can actually go to media as well. So you'll have a lot more in-depth. You can actually see to the detail he goes into when he breaks it down, and it doesn't compare to his F1 packets, like Andrew said. Like when I looked at those, like whoa! I was like, bro, this is a whole different one. I don't understand F1, so I really don't understand what that is. Like it looks like a scientific formula to me. But when you compare, and when I looked at the version for soccer, it's like, wow, this is really cool. I broadcast in the past, I've done a couple of broadcasts myself. So I was like, this would be very useful, obviously, as a broadcaster. So I can only imagine how Jack and Shannon love it when he prepares that for them.
Oh, definitely. I love seeing Jack and Shannon stick their heads out because they're trying to see the corner on the. It's just a great time overall, and I know that it sounds great because I've rewatched the games over just so I can get that feel again too. And I mean, like I said, top down, man, it's a great product.
Yeah, going back to the Los Dos game that got canceled. Did the team get to LA, and is that when you guys found out that the game's gonna be canceled, or how did all that go down?
Yeah, so we actually were in LA. We never made it to the stadium. The plan was we left the same day. We got there. We went to a hotel because we got there early in the day so that the guys can just hang out and relax and kind of unwind. And then just relaxed. And then next thing you know, midday, we started getting some alerts and stuff of that nature. And we're like, wait, what? So fortunately, it happened before we got to the stadium. So like that whole exposure aspect was very limited to just getting to a hotel. Everybody was isolated to themselves, obviously, just like normal. And then it was pretty much a field trip to LA and back and forth that same day. It was a very bizarre day. I'll say that. I'll tell you that. It went quick. At the same time, it went very slow. It was interesting, but we're glad that everything is on the other side of that now, obviously we're back to playing. Hopefully here in the near future, Galaxy 2 is ready to go as well, and then we can just continue business as usual. That's the hope, and I think the league's done a pretty good job, obviously, of handling those situations and not letting the exposure get a little bit outside of everyone's control. So
Yeah,
they would take it as a silver lining, knowing that we didn't have to end up going to the stadium, knowing that getting on the field and next thing you know they cancel it on that spot, then it would have been a whole different scenario.
yeah, that would have changed. That would have changed things a lot. Not even just if anything happened, just the optics of it. It's not
Yeah.
not ideal. Thank goodness everybody was safe. Thank goodness also that we were really considering going.
And I think it was Loyal that first tweeted it, right? Like the game was going to be canceled. It was the Loyal account, right?
Yes, yeah, we did it a couple minutes ahead of time, based on that.
Yeah, because it was kind of weird. Because Galaxy, like, they ended up tweeting it maybe like after everyone had already.
It's LA, bro. Like
It's LA.
Fresno knows, man, right? LA guys, like, jeez.
That's hilarious.
No, definitely. And but let's talk a little bit about the fun part of this, the day to day, the talking with the players. I know at the end of the day, I last Saturday I saw you. I guess with Brian too, just interviewing Landon after the game, and just the little things like that. What's been your favorite part about interacting with the players? I mean, obviously you've done it in other type of sports or settings, but how is it different here, man? Like, how are you enjoying your time?
It's honestly, it's very similar but different at the same time. To your point, like they're training at an elite training center in Chula Vista. I mean, like that's a whole different world compared to what the players in Fresno were experiencing, and Elijah could attest to that. Obviously, just that, not that the treatment's bad. Obviously, in Fresno was good as well, but I think every team provides a different setup, and that alone is a different experience. So it gives you a different way to like hang out with the guys to an extent, or just be able to chat with them and engage with them. But from one thing that I've noticed with the guys I've worked with in Fresno, and obviously the players here, they're all really good, down to earth guys. Like at the end of the day, they're just there. They're having fun. They're working hard, but at the same time, they're just good people. And I think obviously Landon said it numerous times. Andrew's mentioned it. That's pretty much the culture that we're trying to build from the front office to the guys on the field. We want everybody to have a good personality and be all in the right culture. And that's the biggest thing to us. It's not just having the best people, but looking for that happy medium of the best people when it comes to their job. At the same time, having the great personality that fits into our culture, that we can do things that are better for our community overall. And we all have like that team mentality. But it's been fun, man, to be honest. Like going on these road trips, it's a good experience. You get to see things and see how guys engage in general and like their relationships. And if you guys noticed on social media yesterday, the post Ryan put it out was the bromance with Yair and Bev. So it's like the best thing ever. You get to see like two guys that don't speak English.
Yes.
One speaks French, one speaks Spanish, and it's like they get along so well. They literally do like a bromance. That's literally the epitome of it. You know what I mean?
No,
so those little things you get to see behind the scenes, and you want to highlight on social media. So we try to be there as much as we're allowed to, and we can based on our work and our workloads. But just to give us an extra story to tell you, I mean, so social media, and to give our community an opportunity to see what goes down within the club.
Yeah, no, I actually saw that interaction on after the game too, just with Beverly and Yair, two great guys. But again, it's that thing where they don't have to talk in the same language to be friendly with each other and have a great time. I don't know if you know, we've been we've been talking to Beverly over Instagram through emojis, and I actually got him to, he asked me to help him with English, so I was putting it into French, Google Translate, and then sending it, and then he's like, no, English. I was like, got it. I'll help you out, man. Here you go. Simple questions. And he's going back and forth. He's working on it, man. Great dude.
No, for sure he is.
But let's say, who is somebody that you've seen training? That's kind of that's somebody that not a lot of people have seen yet, maybe on the field because of playing time, but somebody that that you see that, okay, this is somebody that the fans will like, or somebody that is up and coming, that somebody to look forward to. Maybe it just hasn't worked out tactically, but somebody that you enjoy or see playing on the field, like este vato.
Well, to answer your question, I think of one that we always see on social media, just to keep it kind of consistent to like my realm of what I see mostly is Ashley Nazira. Honestly, like people in Mauritius love him. Like, and he's working hard, and every day I see him working hard and putting more work into it, and he's working with Landon one on one, trying to get better every day. It's not just about scoring; it's about those little things, and obviously very soccer oriented stuff. But we can post, for instance, we do wallpaper Wednesdays here and there. When we did his, like it blew up on
Wow.
Facebook, particularly, obviously. But it was like the top posts that we've had on Facebook have always been like Ashley oriented, just because Mauritius is looking for him like every minute that they get. So someone that, to your question, it's like any chance that we get to that he's doing something and we can highlight, we want to show obviously someone in Mauritius or a whole country in Mauritius like that are really excited and happy for this one guy that's the first guy to get out there and come playing professionally in the United States. We want to be able to do that. Like I said, we want to showcase to our community. We also want to showcase to their particular communities. When we're talking about Ashley Nazira, we're talking about Bev, we're talking about Yair back in Panama. You know what I mean? Like those are things that we want to make sure that these fan bases that are happy for their individual players can get a glimpse of San Diego Loyal, but at the same time get to follow through and see what like Yair is doing, Bev's doing, and Ashley, like I mentioned. So honestly, if it happens, obviously I completely outside of my world when it comes to coaching and none of that, and I don't I see it from a whole different lens. You can say obviously, but if Ashley ever got onto the pitch or when he does, whatever the case is on that, I could only imagine how Mauritius is going to react to that. You know what I mean? So to me, that's what makes it exciting, like the story behind it, and knowing what it could come from. So I see it from a storytelling standpoint to an extent, not so much from a tactical, but just knowing that what people can get from every little aspect. One story I have on that's not San Diego Loyal, but just shows you the impact of one player from a different country. In Fresno, we signed a Japanese player, Hiroki, from Japan. He came over. Literally, we had a fan from Japan travel to Fresno on 2 different occasions to watch Hiroki play.
Wow.
2 different occasions from Japan. And I think she even did a trip to, I believe, Colorado Springs, another city, an away match to watch him play there as well. I was like, wow. Like, the fact that one player can make a huge difference for one person, or in this case, a whole country, when it comes to like Ashley Nazira, I mean, it's incredible. And I think that's what really gets me pumped up about each individual player, because they each have their own little particular story.
Oh, that is awesome. I now I want to see Ashley on the pitch just because of that. I want to see that, just that blip of social media that he just causes in this country. Just that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. So obviously, me and Tony and I are strong believers in the club. We love this club along with a lot of people, but some people are hesitant on becoming fans because they know the history San Diego has with soccer teams, like Soccer City that didn't happen. Chargers ended up leaving. So what makes the San Diego Loyal unique that will make it last in San Diego, and you can tell people this is why we're going to stay in San Diego?
And obviously, not to throw any shade or anything, but you worked with Fresno, who had something that, if it was to happen here in San Diego, would be devastating for the Loyal, I think.
Yeah, from that perspective, honestly, like that was kind of what I was opening up earlier when I was able to start up a club and pretty much shut down a club. It's not the greatest experience overall, obviously, but it provides you good like insight on like what to do or what not to do. I think it all starts obviously with the community supporting it, but having the right people in place from ownership standpoint, things of that nature. And as you guys obviously have noticed, our ownership with Andrew it's a whole different ballgame. You guys mentioned it last week when you had him on, but just seeing how the community takes it, I think is the biggest difference. Not that Fresno did it. There's just obviously a lot of things at play. Same thing happens many other cities in different sports as well when it comes to different situations that just don't work out. But in terms of like the community is one thing, but a good example of what we think is something to kind of take as a sample size of what this team can mean to the community is we had a pandemic where we're I lost track of time, 4 months without any action. And we were still to an extent, we stayed really relevant, you know what I mean, to the community. And that's kind of what we're instilling on, like soccer is our platform and that's always going to be like our main thing. But if soccer is taken away from us, we still got to make an impact positively to our community. So if there's a silver lining you can say from this pandemic, which it's hard to say, obviously, with how drastic or how bad it's been, is that we were able to show that we're still here for our community, regardless if soccer is taken away from us for these couple months. You know what I mean? So obviously that's not sustainable long term. We need the soccer to be able to continue our platform, but that alone should show you, like, if we're committed to our community and we continue to do those things the right way, our ownership feels that same way, and every person in our office culturally understands that. I think soccer or no soccer will make it a place that the community wants, or make it a team or an organization that the community wants to support one way or another.
I like it.
I like it too, and I mean, especially how do you guys feel? Because obviously this changed everything, but I know this is the little point you wanted them taking it. But 1904, you know, how did you guys approach when beginning and even continuing now that relationship with them, if there even is a relationship, to potentially, you know, not necessarily unify? That's not a thing, but have two viable professional soccer teams, maybe in the different leagues. But how do you guys juggle and come together from a social media standpoint, and then just this world that you're involved in? How do you bring and bridge those two factions together in a sense?
I think it comes to, like, having the conversation and understanding each other's goals. You know what I mean? Because the biggest thing when it comes to sports in the community, like, people see it like, oh, it's competition because you're in the same business, same industry. But at the same time, you kind of have to elevate the industry as a whole. I mean, if you're kind of just throwing jabs at each other, the industry is it's not benefiting anybody. You know what I mean? That's one of the biggest things that I've noticed personally. So, for instance, try to embrace every sports team in the community. I think we're all on the same mission. There's enough to go around for everybody. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. So I personally haven't met with anybody from 1904. Obviously, like I said, I'm fairly new here. Feels like I've been here for years now, with obviously the 9 months that have been probably the randomest 9 months of my life overall. But I know we had, like, as the front office, there's been discussions with them. So I know we're in good standing. There's nothing negative with them, obviously. If the pandemic hadn't happened, for instance, we probably would be in a better, like, in a more positive, you can say, or overall unified conversation with them. At the moment, we're not against them or nothing of that nature. We just haven't had the chance to engage each other because of what's going on, obviously, in the world at the moment. But what we want to do is obviously embrace every team here, be embraced by every team, being that we're the new ones in the community. If you guys noticed, we've been engaging with the Padres quite a lot, especially the last, like, 2 days ago, we were live tweeting their game. I mean, we get, like, that's what we want. We want to be able to uplift our community, and that we know how important sports teams are to a community. So it's no need to, like, take each other's money or take each other's fans. At the end of the day, they're the same fans. That's the way I see it.
Oh, it's awesome. And no, that's one of the things that here in San Diego we take to heart. And obviously we only have one professional team up until Loyal came around. And again, 1904 is a professional league too. But we take that to heart here. That fact that you guys are interacting. Is that a matter of, like, two social media guys hitting each other up, or is that just a happenstance where somebody mentions somebody else and everybody's like, oh, yay, and then just the relationship builds from there?
Obviously, there's previous relationships with, like, people in our office that have worked with the Padres, or just people that have engaged in the past. But you know how social media is. You throw it out there and then they respond. That's the way it is. So the fact that I think they appreciate that we're watching, keeping tabs on what they're doing when it comes to their performance on the field as well. And we're there to give them a good luck to start the season. We're there to obviously amplify them when they're doing great as well. So I think it's just the respect that one another will have overall. You know what I mean? So that's our goal with every organization. 1904, going back to them, like, we want to amplify soccer in this community. If it's under the U5s or whatever, or it's 1904, or if it's San Diego State, you know what I mean? We want to make sure soccer is thriving, sports are thriving in this community. Obviously soccer in particular for us, because that's the realm that we're in. But at the end of the day, that's what we want: a healthy community that follows their sports teams, and we're able to increase and engage our soccer community even more.
Yeah, I mean, as a Latino, I mean, I'm curious. Maybe you have plans to reach even a greater community than just San Diego. Maybe reach a little south of the border into Tijuana. I know they have Cholos, but, you know, there's always something. There's a lot of people from Tijuana that come to to San Diego for different reasons. So is that something that you're kind of looking into or looking forward to maybe in the future?
Yeah, that's definitely an area that we want to obviously embrace even more. Me personally, on mine, like for me, um, it's something I take very personal. That's something I've learned. So like I grew up obviously Mexican family speaking Spanish. My Spanish wasn't great growing up, so I kind of stayed away from it because I was embarrassed. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like pared, like you don't say the word right. They want you to repeat it, and they just laugh. They
Yep.
never tell you how to say it the right way. So that was me. They wouldn't correct me. They would just laugh at me, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not speaking Spanish because it's obviously not the right language for me.
Mhm.
As I got older, I understood like the value of it. Obviously, working in sports radio in Spanish, and it showed me like, hey, I definitely need to get better and practice, and I've been able to do that, and that's helped me understand our community even more. So I see the value in it, and not from just from the club side, but what it brings to that community. I mean, something that I embrace. There's a reason why soccer is so popular in Mexico, and obviously the passion that comes from it. Um, so for us, it's not just getting from the community when it comes to the Hispanic community, but giving them something as well to feel that's theirs. So we want every single person, like we talked about bridging communities. We want to definitely bridge the county of San Diego, but obviously if that goes on the other side of the border, that's exactly what we're looking to do. We had a match with Cholos obviously scheduled, but it didn't work out for the obvious reason. But obviously that's a plan that we look to have moving forward to make that relationship thrive and grow for both the Cholos and for us. So when people are there, they know about Loyal. People that are here obviously know about Cholos, but even more so and more in depth to have more of that that relationship where it feels more naturally. I mean, it's not just, hey, they're a soccer team on the other side of the border type of thing.
No, it's great, and I mean, it's not an easy ask, and I'll be the first one to tell you, even though it was immediate.
Oh, for sure.
But you're also asking somebody across the border in Tijuana to support Landon Donovan. Like,
True.
Like that's a hard ask. It really is. I mean, I met him and he won me over immediately. So that's a different type of experience I had. But it's really great what you guys have been doing. I mean, it's silly to even say that do we really hold that against them or hold stuff against Landon or. There's a lot of people that do. There's a lot of people that do, and it's
sure.
And it's a little, it makes it a little more difficult to be like, hey guys, come join this guy. But I feel like, I don't know, you guys have been doing a great job. Just the PR team with making him seem endearing and a great guy. I'm sure he is. He is, man. But how's it been working with literally the greatest American soccer player to ever grace the field?
So. It's a funny story on that with Landon. Like, so I worked in Spanish radio. There's Mexican regional station, ESPN Deportes. That's the one I particularly worked in, and that's when I really got into soccer more because that's obviously programming on ESPN Deportes is 85 to 90%. Probably a little less now because they put a little bit more, obviously, American sports, you can say. But so that's when I started learning more about the structure and like how many cups and how Champions League is different than the Premier League and how they're all kind of intertwined. So I understood the whole concept. And I got really into like the international landscape of things. Obviously, I work at a Spanish station, Mexican regional. 80% of the people there were Mexican national team fans. I, being new to the soccer scene back then, I was like, well, born and raised in America, I'm a Mexican American, proud to be. But I'm gonna go for USA. I mean, that's what I'm gonna do. So obviously, I grew up watching Latin. That's literally the player I followed the most. And then, so I would be like the one Mexican American or Mexican guy in the office when Mexico would play US. I'll be the guy wearing the US jersey. So I know that feeling of like having to win people over that are anti, obviously the team that you root for. I was like, hey, I'm proud to be Mexican, but from a rivalry standpoint, I can't root for Mexico. I'm sorry. It's like Yankees, Red Sox. I mean, whatever other rivalry you want to put into America Chivas. Like, there's no way. I don't care how good it is or whatever the case is. I'm not rooting for them. So that was the same situation here. So I think to the point, working with Landon is really cool. It was pretty surreal the first time. Obviously, I was in a meeting because I was like, whoa, this is Landon. Like, this is pretty trippy. But then to your point, like, and he always says it, like, he's human first before he's a soccer player or a soccer legend. So I think people knowing his name will just take the credibility behind that and be like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then knowing now how he's embraced, obviously, the culture, the Mexican culture overall in soccer and beyond that, I think people will appreciate that once they see him more involved and more engaged as he's been. Like you guys know this for the World Cup, obviously that U.S. wasn't in. He did that promo with
Wells
I
Fargo.
forgot what. Yeah, Wells Fargo with the Mexican jersey. I mean,
Yeah.
like that alone for that community was good. For the American Outlaw community, which I'm a proud member of, you can say, not so thrilled about that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just goes down to the rivalry aspect. But at the end of the day, we're all here to do the same thing: is embrace the sport and the passion that we all live with. You know what I mean? But it's a fun time regardless.
I have a conspiracy theory with that, actually, with Landon doing that, and that was something I've been always dying to ask him. I never thought I had the chance to actually ask him, but it seemed weird to me. Like, was this the long run? The fact that he started learning Spanish really well, he started doing commercials in Spanish. He unretired, went to Mexico, and had to speak Spanish. Comes here to San Diego, San Diego Soccer's venture,
Little Mexico.
Little Mexico. So I mean, he was playing the long haul, man. But.
He's planning to come and start a team here.
Yeah, no, he had to, man. Had to. Like, there's no.
I don't
way.
know, but it was funny to see that though, to be honest, because like from a fan perspective, you know what I mean? And I was like, what's Landon doing? Like, it was what it was. I wasn't too worried about it. But fans obviously get so pumped into it, or like, I won't root for Mexico because I'm a U.S. fan in the rivalry aspect, and then you see that and you're like, wait, what's going on here? Nothing bad. It is what it is. You understand the sports and the landscape of how it works, but it is pretty funny when you see, to your point, no one's going to be happy to. Oh, they're not going to welcome Landon with open arms if you're a Mexico fans and you remember the Los Aceros situation. You know what I mean? Like those things, they stay engraved into your life forever in your heart. So sorry to bring that up, guys.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he gets really upset when they bring up Dos Acero.
Not even that. Not even that. Do you know what the first thing I asked Landon when I met him? And I'll just move on. Like,
¿Por qué, Landon? ¿Por qué?
no, ¿por qué te hiciste del baño en el Estadio Jalisco? I'm a Chivas fan, and he gave me the good old foggy memory, foggy this, foggy that. All right, dude, that's fine. Even then, he had already won me over, which is sacrilege to everybody that I tell that. Oh no, he's a good guy. No, it's un buen vato.
Yeah.
But,
That's so
but
funny.
definitely, man. What has been, obviously you have all these experiences from different ventures. You said minor league baseball, ESPN radio. What has been the best, most rewarding experience that you've had so far, or your just favorite day working in the field that you've been working in?
Like overall, or like here in San Diego?
Overall.
Wow. It's all like growing, like trying to obviously grow in a professional setting. Like it's always cool to see more opportunities and things of that nature. So like having the opportunity to come here was like a really cool experience. Personally, just because it was the first time living in Fresno. So to me, that was a big move no matter what. But I think one that's negative, but at the same time, it's positive because it shows me how much value there is to a sports team. Not that I know that, because obviously as a fan for many sports teams, I feel that. But for instance, when Fresno FC was going out and moving and they're leaving Fresno, that playoff game where the team lost, looking around the stands and seeing even the players that are not even from Fresno, tears in their eyes, seeing kids that were like 5, 6, 7 years old, like super depressed, crying, hoping that wasn't true and things of that nature. My own kids saying like, wait, what? There's no more Zorros? Like, what's going on? And I was like, so those things make me think like, this is actually really cool what we're doing. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saving lives directly, but at the same time, we're giving people really cool experiences and memories that, because getting taken away, they're obviously emotional about it. So that tells you that there's a big impact on that aspect. So experiencing that alone made me appreciate more what I'm doing, and showing that there's a value in a different way, obviously, to provide to the community, to give them experiences, memories. And we see it across the board in soccer across the world, that's the same thing. And that's what we're able to do here. It's a really cool experience for me. So to me, that really gets me excited and makes me want to obviously keep doing what I'm doing and enjoy what I'm doing, because I know one way or another it's making an impact on different people. And then you add someone like Landon Donovan, where someone that never in their life thought they would meet him gets the opportunity to meet him at a game. It's like that's a whole different level of experience. Do you know what I mean? So being able to provide those, I think, are like the best thing for me when it comes to working in sports.
You're a conjurer of happiness, man. Like it's what you're doing, man, and I really appreciate what you do day to day. And again, it's these behind the scenes things that people don't really take into consideration. But I love the fact that the club is able to, you know, open their doors and have that transparency to say, hey, you know, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and for you guys to be so gracious with the players, with everybody that's involved, with the coaches, Nate, even yourself. I mean, it's amazing, and we're really grateful to have that relationship with you guys. And I mean, we're just a conduit to the community, so the relationship is with the community. So before we let you go, one last question, man.
Tickets.
I'm gonna skip that one actually.
Oh wow!
Because I want to know, man. Next season, Loyal is gonna have their first game at home, Torero Stadium, 2021. Fans in the crowd. It's gonna be great. What can this fan base expect on a game day post COVID? Say, if we're allowed to have 6,100 people back at Torero.
That's a good question. Just because we've thought about it, like we could prepare for everything. We don't know what that looks like, obviously. But if we were to say the world goes back to where it was, and it's hard to answer that way, you know what I mean? But let's just say the world's back to how March 7th was ahead of time, and post-COVID, everything looks back to normal as much as it can be. Well, I think it's going to be exciting. We would expect another sellout, but we're going to really highlight the way we want to get fans back in the stadium. That first match is highlighting our community, and not just like we don't do that every game, because we do. That's the plan for every game. But highlighting people that helped us get through the pandemic, helped us thrive in the pandemic and be able to survive it, and once come out like heroes, you know what I mean? And it's going to be a celebration for everything that the community as a whole and society as a whole and the world as in general was able to overcome, because the pandemic doesn't happen all the time, obviously. Like, there's a new experience for everyone. So to me, it's like making that experience worthwhile for every single person that is there, and to understand, like, to have this moment, it means a lot, because so much has happened to make this moment but the potential not happening, you know what I mean? Like, we wanted fans this year, we're not going to have it. We had one game of it. Yeah. So when we do get back to having fans in the stadium, it's going to be a very memorable night. Things that we can think of are like September 11th, for instance, different type of scenario, but very similar in the tone and the setting of everything that went on. You think of me personally, I think Braves Mets, Mike Piazza hitting home runs against the Braves. I'm not happy about that, but it just shows you that memory brought people together. You know what I mean? So that's the aspect behind that. That's kind of what comes to mind thinking of that first game back with fans in the stands. That's what I'm looking forward to more than anything.
I love it, man. And we'll definitely see you there, and everybody will see you there. And if you see Jesse around, say thank you, man, because it's not an easy job, especially just what they had to work with and moving on. It's great what they've been able to do and keeping everybody engaged. And we look forward to that first game back, and hopefully we get to scream a Mike Piazza-like goal from Loyal. But
hey, we'll take that, right?
Definitely, man. But thank you, Jesse. If you want to let everybody know where they can go ahead and find you, and the club, I guess, because everybody knows the club. But yeah, where can everybody find you, man?
Well, on social media, sheesh, I don't even know my own handles, to be honest. Now I'm working so much through ours, but Jesse Beltran, you can find me, and I got to look it up, to be honest. But just obviously right now, no fans in the stands. I think the key is follow the broadcast, ESPN Plus. I think that's the biggest thing. We definitely want people to engage and continue to listen in on Jack and Shannon for all the home matches. That's the biggest thing, and just get to learn every single player. I mean, that's what we like to see, is people really gravitating to like understanding how the team's playing and how the team's doing. It's the biggest sign of like everyone's engaged, and that's the biggest thing. So follow every match on CW. Weekdays it's on Fox 5, and all of them are on ESPN Plus throughout the season. So we're looking forward to this Saturdays in Vegas. That's going to be fun. And then next week we start some good challenges, you can say, OC and then Phoenix. It's going to be a fun week.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to that, man. Get enough water out there. It's 100 degrees, 107 on Saturday for Vegas. So aguas. But yeah, thank you for joining us, man. Go ahead and please stick around. We'll go ahead and wrap this up at the end. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, guys.